Good morning, everyone. How are ya? And once again, welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a great start to your day. And question and answer Friday, always fun. Okay, Mike from Norland, Brahim. Like I've known you forever, Brahim. How are you, buddy? Adeline, good morning. And Nick from our staff. And way up there, I missed you, Mary. It goes up into my screen, guys. Gary and Jeanette from our staff. And then I miss it. Fran from Orangeville. Okay, and Brahim's having his coffee, and so am I. Sandy, Chantal, Ottawa. How are you? Donna, PEI. Len and Judy. Good morning from Edmonton, Alberta. Faye, Terrace, British Columbia. Corrine, Negwak, Nouveau-Brunswick. Andrea, Nouveau-Brunswick. And Jerry, Nouveau-Brunswick. Louise, how are you? Jeanette, how you doing? Lise. And there's Jerry. Pat, how are you? And Maria, good morning. We appreciate you guys coming on. Guess what it is? Question. Georgie, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Deanna, Kansas. Faye's having her coffee too. Yeah, good. And Francis and Anne, good morning. Kevin, how are you? See, I can see you, Kevin. Carol, Mount Pearl, Newfoundland. Doc McEwen, West Tennessee. Eva, you know how many good friends I have? Denise, you guys are unreal. Terry, Georgetown. Elaine from Newfoundland. And Darlene, good morning. Micheline, nice to have you on. Dave, Muskoka. Jody, good morning. And Dale, and a couple of more. Annette, bonjour. Nouveau-Brunswick, I believe. Sue from Bolton. Charlene, Temiskamut. Where was that? Fran, Yolande, bonjour. Waiting on you, Yolande. I always wait. Lynn, Kevin, coffee to you too. Cecilia, good morning. Lori, Peterborough. And another Faye. We appreciate you girls. Marcin and Renee, good morning from Sudbury. Donna and Bonnie, Manitoulin Island. Wendy, I missed you. Wanda from Virginia. Janice, having her coffee with 45% cream. Wow, Catherine. And Fatu, oh boy, that's quite the name there. Thea, Yvonne, Alberta. And Bobby from Kitchener. And Leela, good morning. Marilyn, Kelowna. Okay, let's get going. Jane, how are you? Okay, Diane, I'm wondering what Dr. Martin says about berberine as a herbal supplement. Well, look, berberine is here. It's getting a lot of ink lately, okay? And it's sort of a new kid on the block. It talks about what it does for regulating blood sugar. And therefore, you can use it as a weight loss supplement. Look, I like berberine. I do. Okay? Look, you cannot out-supplement a bad diet. Okay? So, I've used berberine in the past. On its own, okay? I just found things, a combination of things to be better than that. As far as when it helps to, with insulin resistance, okay? But at the end of the day, you got to start with food. Because insulin is a food hormone. And that's been the problem. Even when, you know, if you want to know if medicine got hijacked by the pharmaceutical companies, you don't have to look any further than diabetes. Because when it comes to, you talk to a doctor, okay, with some exceptions. You're diabetic, you're on medicine the rest of your life. It's just the way they think. It's the way they're trained. You're a diabetic, nothing you can do. You know, like my dad used to say, it's sugar diabetes. They changed the name. It's sugar diabetes. So in the 1960s, when I knew nothing about nothing, my dad used to tell me, son, it's sugar diabetes. That's why your dad is not having any more sugar. What? Yeah, it's sugar diabetes. In the office, thousands, tens of thousands of patients, more than that. And I used to test their urine. You come into the office, you give me a urine. If there was sugar in that urine, I'd show them. You and sugar don't get along. Not that anybody really does. But you have an allergy to it. You have an allergy to carbohydrates. So you can take berberine. I'm not against that. But it's no panacea. It's not going to fix the problem. Might aid it a little bit, but it's not fixing the problem. The problem is food. You have a food allergy. 93% of the population have trouble with metabolic syndrome. That is a food syndrome. So why do I start with that all the time? Well, you better start in the kitchen. You better start with making choices, what you put in your mouth. And medicine don't talk about that. I hate to use the word backwards. They haven't even made a dent in diabetes. You know, when we talk about the war, we talked about yesterday, the war on vitamin D, the war on saturated fat, the war on cholesterol. We talked about a war. There's a war going on diabetes. It's an allergy. Okay? It's an allergy. Really. And when you have metabolic syndrome, 93%, they don't even realize it because nobody will tell them they got a problem with food and you're a carboholic. My name is Tony and I'm a carboholic. It's the first step to getting better. Not taking a supplement. It's food. I'm sorry. And I know it sounds simplistic, but it is simplistic. But there's a war on simplistic. They want to complicate things so that they can keep, look, look, the pharmaceutical companies, I know there's good people working in there. And, when they think of it, think of a researcher going, well, I'm getting paid by a pharmaceutical company. I make my living with them. I'm certainly going to try and find medications that are going to help the world. And I never question their motives. But it's a business. It's a business. And they have shareholders. And they're conglomerates. Okay? And you know, guys, and then you get, and what they do, and the people at the top and the marketing people behind them, and you think they're stupid? Over 75% of every news organization, 75% of their revenues come from the pharmaceutical companies. Do you think they're going to talk against that? Do you think they're going to talk against that? They're sponsored by. So in the news, that's why you have a war on vitamin D. That's why you have a war on saturated fat. You have a war on cholesterol. And, why do you think for all these years we've been talking about cholesterol for heart disease, and at the first day they talked about it, they were wrong? And they take the whole population, including physicians, and they drill it in, and here's a med for it. If you got cholesterol, you're going to have a heart attack. And they scare the living life out of you. And I don't blame people. I don't blame the lay person. They go to their doctor, and every day, by the way, when you send me your blood work, every day, Doc, I'm confused. Dr. Martin says one thing, and the rest of the establishment, including my doctor, says another thing. I'm confused. Yeah, I know. And I don't blame you. But I always tell people, well, okay, where are we at? If cholesterol was the cause of heart disease, we'd have got rid of it by now. There wouldn't be any more heart disease. I mean, stink. After the age of 65, almost 70-80% of people are taking a statin drug. If you're a diabetic, they give you a statin drug with it. What's diabetes got to do with cholesterol? They give it out like it's candy. They don't even think about it. Well, that's their idea of prevention, you see? And it's drilled into their brains. And they're sincere. They're scared skinny that you're going to have a heart attack. And they believe that the issue is cholesterol, so what do we do about it? So guys, boy, that was a long answer for berberine. I get on tangents, don't I? I go down rabbit trails, and I don't come back fast enough. Okay. Diane, thanks for the question. Helen, I heard Dr. Martin talk about bunions at one point. Could I be wrong? No, I think I did. I probably did. Do bunions indicate a vitamin deficiency? Well, not really. Bunions indicate, usually, when I used to see them a lot, flat feet, the metatarsal arch is collapsed, and bunions, women get them often because of bad footwear. I think some people are more susceptible than others. Those high heels and just wearing bad footwear, imagine, all day long. And men too, men can get them. But usually an irritation on the outside of the metatarsal arch, and you get a bunion. And but not so much deficiency, more a flattening of the metatarsal arch. So, do exercises. I mean, once you got a bunion, like sometimes they're so bad, you got to get surgery. And there's no easy fix from my point of view. Okay, Ola, how are you? Epstein Barr, you know what? I got this asked 2 or 3 times. Well, I got a lot of questions about the thyroid today, so let's answer them at the same time. Eola, could Epstein Barr virus, okay? Now, guys, Epstein Barr, okay? The vast majority of the people have it. It's a virus that stays quiet. Very much like the herpes virus. It's part of that. It's not part of the family, but let's say they're cousins, okay? The herpes virus, okay? You get chicken pox. You got the herpes virus. It stays what we call latent. You know what that means? It's sleeping. It's in your body and it's sleeping. And if you get cold sore, it's awakened. If you get shingles, herpes zoster, it's awakened. Okay? So, Epstein Barr, and listen, there's a long history, go back to the 80s, and people that got chronic fatigue, you got to understand something. Okay, chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME they call it now, and fibromyalgia even. When it was coming out, and there was like I'm not going to say a pandemic, there was like an epidemic of it in the 80s. I mean, I saw hundreds. I wrote a book about it, and I did my thesis for my PhD in clinical nutrition on Epstein. Wasn't Epstein Barr, but we talked about Epstein Barr because we were talking about chronic fatigue syndrome. Is it a virus? That's what they thought. And they first called it, which one of the earliest names was Epstein Barr syndrome. But then they found out only 50%, or maybe even a little bit less than that, had the virus of the people that they tested for chronic fatigue syndrome. So it couldn't have been that. And guess what I did my thesis on? It was adrenal exhaustion. Okay? Elevated levels of cortisol for several reasons, by the way. The virus could have been there. And by the way, when you look at the shingles or cold sore, when does it come out? When do you get shingles? Stress. Cortisol pours gasoline on the fire because it suppresses the immune system. Okay? Now, Eola is asking, could Epstein-Barr virus cause thyroiditis? It could. Yes, it could. It's possible. It gets activated, can make you unwell. Okay? It's possible for sure. Okay? I had it at the age of 16. Yep. And now she has a sluggish thyroid. Yeah, well, join the cast of millions that have sluggish thyroid, especially women. A thyroid is complicated, okay? Remember what I say, Eola, because it's really important. You got the thyroid gland, but it has a lot of strings attached to it, okay? And the thyroid doesn't act independently. It's like a puppet, okay? And it starts up in headquarters with the hypothalamus. So it's really important to understand that. You get a virus, it could have affected the brain, could have gone right to the thyroid gland. And yep, it's possible for sure, okay? It's possible. But at the end of the day, Eola, okay, at the end of the day, what do you do about it if your thyroid is sluggish, okay? Well, I'm telling you, and there's a connection. Let me see. Let's see if we can tie these together here. Okay. Hold on a minute here. I just want to get... See? Even Rita. Would Dr. Martin please comment on the Epstein-Barr virus and its link to causing thyroid problems and other health issues? Okay? How do we eradicate the virus from our body? Well, you don't eradicate it. You put it to sleep. See, okay, let's talk about the virus and then I'll come back to the thyroid. Guys, you and I, don't worry so much about getting rid of all bacteria and all viruses. Your body is meant to live in harmony with viruses and bacteria. Why do you think I was talking about the immune system all the time? Okay? While the world was talking about, they were talking prevention, although they came up with a vaccines, but I was talking about, and I talked to you about it yesterday, vitamin D, sun, steak, and steel. Take care of your immune system. And the Epstein Barr will do nothing to you. In order for that virus to get activated, you have to have a combination of a poor immune system and stress. That's the point I made in my dissertation when I was doing my thesis. It was a perfect storm. I called it a perfect storm back in the 80s. They were women, because it's 95% women with chronic fatigue syndrome. And like I said, they tried to call it the Epstein Barr virus as the cause. But it was a perfect storm. Stress, poor diet, family dynamics, caregivers, environmental stress like mold. I talked about that. Okay? The virus was in the background, and then the virus can get activated. Doesn't always do it, but it was about 50%. That virus got activated. Same thing with shingles. Shingles is a perfect storm. Okay? And when you get real stressed over a period of time, combining with a bad diet, low vitamin D, low B12, and presto, you have shingles. And it ain't no fun. And the Epstein Barr can raise its ugly head when there's a perfect storm. So that's what I talked about. And it can affect your thyroid. Absolutely. Your thyroid is the master of it's the master gland of your metabolism. But again, it's got a lot of attachments. It's got your ovaries, ladies. There's a big factor between estrogen and progesterone imbalance. Okay? Thyroid, the hypothalamus, it starts up there in the brain. Sugar really affects those hormones. So usually bad eating. And then your adrenal glands, cortisol. You don't sleep. Family dynamics or a caregiver, and you're exhausted and you don't get sleep, and all those things can affect the thyroid. Now, the virus can come into play. But your body, coming back to my original point, your body was made to fight viruses and bacteria. Make your body a lean, mean fighting machine. You have to optimize vitamin D. You can't have a good immune system without vitamin D. You just can't. And that goes for cancer. That goes for any chronic disease. Why do you think I talk about that so much? Vitamin D, the sun, when it's out. Okay? Vitamin D. It has an effect on everything. B12, I talk about the 2 vitamins I bring into every senior home, if they would allow me. They're so effective, but they don't use them. Why? They're scared skinny. Who did that? The pharmaceutical industry and medicine. They're ignorant. Anyway. Okay, there was another one here. Okay. Let me just see. I thought there was one more on the thyroid. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. Anyway, thank you, Eola. And thank you, who was asking that one? Rita. We appreciate it. You guys, were you talking to each other? Okay. Brenda, trying to get my top blood pressure number down. You say, don't worry about the top number. I am 150/75, but now reading the internet. It's all right. I want you to study. There's a verse in the Bible that says, study to show thyself approved unto God. Study. I like you to study. I don't want you just to take my word for it. I want you to look. I want you to think. I do. But I'm right. Look, one thing I learned when it comes to blood pressure, there's a lot of pressure to keep your blood pressure down. There's a lot of pressure. And people, they almost walk around with a cuff on their arm. Ooh. I said, well, you're just doing that. You're raising your blood pressure. You're stressing yourself out over blood pressure. Now, Brenda, listen, okay? I'm teasing you a little bit. But when your bottom number is 75, you ain't having a heart attack, okay? It's got to be over 90. Look, I don't want high blood pressure either. But there's way too many people on blood pressure medication. Way too many. And they think it's candy. It's not. There's serious side effects to those medications. Now listen, if you have chronic high blood pressure and your doctor puts you on meds, I'm not telling you to get off of them. But I'm going to tell you, 150/75 is not high blood pressure. I know the top. I'm not saying the top number doesn't mean anything, but when you look at it, your diastolic is the key. And when it's 90 and up, you're in doo-doo, and get it down. Okay. Thanks, Brenda. We appreciate it. Gabriel, sun allergy. I got Richie. I got itchy, red little bumps on my legs and arms while in the sun. Okay. First time experiencing it. It's brand new. Okay. You might have got a little bit too much sun. It may be something else. Okay. And what I would suggest is go easy. Okay. And a lot of times, look, skin is an organ. Okay. It's an organ, but it's the one you see. But always go inside, Gabriel, to the outside. Don't go outside to the inside. Go inside to the outside when it comes to skin. Okay? If you go in the sun, you see the little bumps, you probably got a little bit of leaky gut. Leaky gut, leaky skin. And you might not see the connection, but there is a huge connection. Now, I'm not telling you to go burn in the sun. You might have to cover up a bit and enjoy the sun by wearing light clothing or whatever. But generally look internally to see why that's coming up all of a sudden. And a lot of times too, and you might be a real good eater, Gabriel, I don't know. But a lot of times what I used to find is people that were, as soon as I got them off and put them on the reset and got them off all sugars and all vegetable oils, and they were eating only eggs, meat, and cheese, amazing what happens. So have a look at that, Gabriel. Thanks for the question. Okay. Rebecca, does Dr. Martin... I love the way you put it, Rebecca. Doesn't Dr. Martin care about HDL and LDL as long as our triglycerides are low? Well, I do care. Okay? I do care. Rebecca, I care for you. Okay? And I appreciate the question. Okay. Well, look, it's the ratio. It's the key to each other. Here it is in a nutshell. Okay? Triglycerides, everybody has triglycerides. You don't want to have zero triglycerides. But the lower your triglycerides are, compared to, think of a teeter-totter. Okay? You want especially high HDL compared to your triglycerides. It's a comparison. So it's not that I don't, and LDL, let me just say generally, if you want low LDL, because doctors want low LDL, I don't. You want to die young? Well, have low LDL. LDL's important. It's important for your immune system. LDL, they made it out to be the boogeyman. LDL cholesterol. Doc, I got my LDL down. Well, I said, that's stupid. No, what are you doing that for? Well, my doctor said I got to get my LDL down. Why? Do you want to die young? The lower your LDL, the faster you die. But you'll die. You'll be in your coffin with, hey, I've got low cholesterol. That's a fact. It's crazy. Cholesterol is your friend. HDL is a transporter. So is LDL. But HDL is the key transporter that hitches its wagon to triglyceride. How do you make triglycerides? How do you make triglycerides? You already know the answer to this. It's carbs. It's sugar. That's how you make triglycerides. Triglycerides are made in the liver. When your liver is full, when you have the Costco parking lot, because you're a carboholic and your liver is full. And when the liver is full, it sends triglycerides into the bloodstream, and you better have enough HDL to go get them. Okay? Think of trucks with a hitch on it. And they go through your blood vessels looking for triglycerides, and the HDL hits their wagon to your triglycerides, bring them back to the liver for processing. Isn't your body smart? Why would you want to lower your cholesterol? But I do care about HDL and LDL. But if you have low triglycerides, that's half the battle. Maybe 3/4 of the battle. Yeah, you want low triglycerides. You're doing something right when you have low triglycerides. Okay? But you need HDL and you need LDL. Your body makes them. God don't trust you. God doesn't trust you. Your body makes 85% of cholesterol. Every cell in your body is cholesterol. Your eyeballs are cholesterol. Your brain is cholesterol. Everything's cholesterol, every cell. And we want to get it low. I can't get over it. We've been on this failed experiment for 50 years. Hasn't made a dent in heart disease, not even a dent. Because we're looking for love in all the wrong places. It's frustrating. I've been screaming for so long, I'm losing my voice. I just can't stop talking about it because it's so prevalent in our society. I just can't get over it. Kathy, is sun or liver spots caused by a vitamin deficiency? No. Well, no. I always look at sunspots, liver spots. That is a sign of, that's a sign your insulin's up. Your skin is an organ. Remember, you start seeing things on it, and you and insulin, be very careful. Sunspots even. I know it can be, they always talk too much sun and all that. Yeah, too much sun. Nah, is not the cause. Age spots, not the cause. Sun is not the cause of age spots. Insulin resistance. It's your body saying, hello. Cut down on the insulin. Phyllis, I'm looking for information on vasovagal syncope. Yeah, what do you want to know? Well, look, it can be caused by different things. Some people are just more susceptible to it. Okay? Because if everyone that was dehydrated, I always said there's a dehydration factor in vagus syncope. But it's the 10th cranial nerve and the vagus nerve, and you just pass out. Okay? Without any real explanation to it. But when I used to see people like that in my office, I used to say, well, you got to be very careful because you're dehydrated, and not just water, my friend, but salt. Okay? You're low in salt. You're low in sodium. You need sodium. You need magnesium. Okay? And sometimes potassium. You need that stuff. It's why I love Himalayan salt. But I used to see that. Stress can do it. The sight of blood. And they, pass out. Okay? But to some extent, it's the way they're built. But the other thing is, stress, dehydration, probably the one that I saw the most. Thank you, Phyllis. Angela, my daughter is 25. After quitting the birth control pill 4 months ago, she now has a debilitating period pain. She is very physically fit, and she is, Angela. Good for her. But she's got way too much estrogen. The birth control pill, okay? And what's a man doing talking about that? Well, just because hormones, a lot of women, young women, are put on the birth control pill because they got hormones instead of balancing their estrogen and progesterone. And get your daughter, Angela, to dim that estrogen. Start with flax seeds. Our hormonal formula would dim if we ever get it back. Ooh. Waiting. But her being physically fit is a great thing. But now her hormones are out of balance because the birth control pill is like, it's like a Band-Aid. It doesn't fix the problem. And long-term effects of the birth control pill are unbelievable, legion. That's why I always, if women were on the birth control, I would always have them dimming out their estrogen because estrogen's a growth hormone. Estrogen can make things grow that you don't want to grow. So that's what's happening. She has way too much estrogen versus her progesterone. Okay. Madam. Is that her name? Or that's the name I see here, Madam. Okay. How are you, Madam? I have adrenal fatigue. Hello. I take cortisol and magnesium. I have vivid dreams and puts me in a fight or flight. Cutting back on magnesium helped a bit. Any suggestions on what to do? Well, I wouldn't cut out magnesium. You're having vivid dreams. Well, you know one thing, you were into a REM sleep. And you know what? I said, okay, madam, I'm not making fun of you, okay? But let me use what I used to tell my patients in the office who couldn't sleep. Usually with adrenal fatigue, they don't sleep. That was a big issue. It was one of the 4 major symptoms was a lack of sleep. They had a sleep disorder. You don't sleep, your cortisol goes up. Your cortisol goes up, you don't sleep. So the vivid dreams, you're in the fight or flight. You think you're in the fight or flight, but you're not. Because you're into a REM sleep. And they're vivid. And they're real. But your body, the glial system in your brain is working. You are detoxing. So I hate for you to come off magnesium. You need it. So, and cortisol formula. I just hate, madam, that you would get off of that. I know those dreams and they're vivid and people go through, but one thing you know, if you're in a REM, and REM is just one part of your 5 sleep cycles, but you need it. This is the area, especially when you get the recuperative detox in your brain. I hate to take you out of that. Okay. Giselle, is it true metformin helps with insulin resistance? Not really. Where metformin, look, it helps with your blood sugars. But with insulin resistance, no. Look, and even if it did, there's so many side effects to metformin. If you take metformin, you're going to be low in B12. If you take metformin, you're going to be low in vitamin D. Metformin, you need it temporarily, but at the end of the day, you fix your diet and you don't need metformin. Okay? And, okay, last question. Oh, no, I got a couple more here. Okay, sorry about that. Angie, let's keep going. Does coffee affect the hormone levels? I have severe headaches 2 days before. How does 2 days before what? Your period? How does Dr. Martin's hormonal supplement help the hormones? Well, it blocks estrogen. It elevates progesterone. It does both. It dims out estrogen. Okay? Mode of action. Does the liver help break down estrogens? Partly, yep. And DIM helps mainly in the liver to do it. So thanks for the question, Angie. What about coffee? Well, coffee's good for you. It helps everything. It does. Now, some people have to drink the decaf because the caffeine sometimes can affect people. What makes coffee great is not caffeine. It's the bean. It's the antioxidant. It's the phytonutrients in the bean. Okay? Thank you. Angie, thank you. David. My thoughts on Ivermectin for cancer treatment. Well, you know what? We should actually do a program on Ivermectin because man, oh man, there's another war that went on. I watched it. So did you, but you might not have been thinking about it. They had a war on Ivermectin through the virus. They wouldn't let you talk about it. They canceled doctors who were talking about the treatment of ivermectin. There was no money to be made. And now it's starting to come out. The truth is starting to come out. You know what's better than ivermectin? Vitamin D. But I like ivermectin. I've read all about it for many, many, many years. An anti-parasitic drug. And made in Japan from a bacterial when they ferment soy. And it's been effective. It's a third world drug that got, saved people's lives. It's a worldwide drug with parasites. And there is some research on cancer. And if I had cancer, I get the doctor to get me some ivermectin. Not going to hurt you. It's an anti-parasitic. And parasites, like yeast and fungus, they're cousins, have a lot to do with cancer. So yeah, thanks for the question, David. Judy, is there a link between Alzheimer's and people with There's the thyroid one too. I missed it, Judy. Alzheimer's and hypothyroid with brain fog and memory. Well, look, the thyroid's always involved to some extent because, like I said, it's the master. But Alzheimer's is more type 3 diabetes. It's a food, sugar, environmental and different things. And the thyroid, to some extent, is affected with that. Okay? Yeah, good question. Mara, chlorine in the swimming pool, does it kill the good and bad bacteria on your skin? Yeah, that's what it's made for. And again, let me just say this, okay? It's an overarching principle for me, okay? And the way I teach. Guys, you're not going to get away from all the chemicals and all the antibacterials, all the antifungals that they put, in a swimming pool, water, pesticide. It's everywhere. So, saltwater pool is certainly better. But just understand, this is why I'm so big on replacing bacteria. That's why probiotics, that. It's at the top or near the top of what I recommend. Everybody and their dog, because of the world we live in, should be on a probiotic. But yeah, chlorine, it's like fluoride in the water, and it's good for your teeth. Yeah, but it kills good bacteria too. So but are you going to get away from all of it? No. But get your immune system in good shape. That's what you got to do. Crystal, she has anemia. You're not eating enough steak. I am currently on medication for cancer. Well, I could give you anemia and wondering if eating more red meat. Well, it's always a good idea to eat more red meat. You might have to take an iron supplement. I like liquid iron. Okay? I like a liquid iron more than taking an iron capsule. Okay? Some people do all right with a capsule, but I like the liquid better. Okay? Get your iron levels up for sure. And, one of the keys to anemia is B12, Crystal. Find out what your B12 levels. Get them 800 to 1200 minimum. Jan, pretty sure I have tonsillitis and white spots. I get sick. It usually goes to my tonsils. Yeah, Jan, well, those are your gatekeepers. Your tonsils are your gatekeepers to your trachea. I don't want anything going down there. The tonsils are there. They're on your side. They used to take everybody's tonsils out. I remember, this is a true story. Grade 7, I think, may have been I think it was grade 7. The teacher said, who's got their tonsils? I looked around. I was the only guy in the class that still had their tonsils. My dad wouldn't let me get my tonsils. I said, I want to get my tonsils out. Why? Because everybody else has got their tonsils out. I said, and they go to the hospital, they're only there for about a day or two, and they get ice cream. True story. I want to go to the hospital and get some ice cream. My dad said, you need your tonsils. They're your gatekeepers. They keep bacteria out of your body. Use oil of oregano, okay? Jan? Okay, gargle with it. But your tonsils, they're doing their job. Give them a high five. Better have infection there than infection in your lungs. Okay? Leona, last question. Another one on the thyroid. I didn't even notice this. I would like to ask if it's okay to do the reset if I have hypothyroid. Absolutely. Your hypothalamus, okay? The thyroid, okay, it don't start there. It starts up in the brain with your hypothalamus. And when you lay off sugar and when you give your brain nutrient-dense foods, it's amazing how good that is for your body. Yes, for the thyroid. You'd be surprised how many women, thousands and thousands, have done the reset and they found their thyroid to be much, much better. They're connected big time. Yes, sirree. Okay, guys. Thanks for all those wonderful questions, by the way. We appreciate it. Okay? We love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.